This is the Nintendo Switch. And so is this. Over the last 40 years, Nintendo has provided countless hours of video gaming entertainment. But with the rise of the Switch, the company took a huge step forward.
First place!
And during the coronavirus pandemic of 2020, finding one was harder than finding toilet paper. Here's how the Nintendo Switch took the gaming world by surprise and became one of the most popular consoles on the market. This is Suddenly Obsessed. Nintendo went through several iterations over its first 100 years, but its biggest success before video gaming was making Disney-inspired trading cards. However, the Japanese company would undergo a massive rebirth with the release of its Nintendo Entertainment System in 1985.
Will you be the one to witness the birth of the incredible Nintendo Entertainment System?
What followed were decades of memorable characters, entertaining storylines, and Ash Ketchum trying to catch 'em all. Over the years, the company released several consoles, like the Super NES, Game Boy, Nintendo 64, and the Wii, each time leaning on its stable of well-known characters to help sell units. By the early 2010s, the company was falling behind its competitors, like Sony's PlayStation 4 and Microsoft's Xbox One. 2012's Wii U console was widely considered a flop, and for the first time in its storied history, the company reported a loss of over $530 million that same year. And there was a new threat on the horizon: mobile gaming.
They have had a very strong hold on the handheld gaming market for a very long time. They're no longer the king of the handheld gaming as they used to be, but they have a very strong franchise base still.
Nintendo needed a hit. A console that would not only strengthen its existing fan base, but bring in an entirely new audience. In 2015, the company began spreading news about a new concept it was developing. On October 20th, 2016, gamers were introduced to the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch had one simple yet important functionality its competitors didn't: the ability to both play at home by docking the console and using it as a handheld system made for playing on the go. It gave gamers the best of both worlds.
The appeal is that normally you'd sit at home in your living room and play video games, whether it's on an Xbox, Sony PlayStation, and then what Nintendo's doing now is saying, hey, you can have the same experience that you have at home and then just pick it up and take it wherever you go. And that's fun because gamers still get to play the games that they were playing on their big screen in their living room maybe with friends and family, and then continue that when they go to the airport and they're sitting on a plane or on a subway or just on the couch in a different room in their house.
Even though accessories were considered by many to be a bit expensive, Nintendo fans were willing to shell out $299.99 for the new gaming system.
And it's better than mobile, at least for people like me who love the Nintendo Switch, because it still gives you that game experience you have, but right on your Switch instead of on a phone where you're sort of just tapping the screen. It doesn't really feel the same.
But a gaming console is only as strong as its titles, and Nintendo came out swinging. The Switch's release was timed with the debut of a new title in the Legend of Zelda franchise, which was released on the same day as the Switch.
I remember going to the midnight release, it was like sold out, and then getting Breath of the Wild. I think Zelda Breath of the Wild was like a really big motivation for a lot of people to get the Switch. I think that's what drew a lot of people in at the start.
While the slate of top-shelf games and a 32-gig hard drive were an initial draw, customers also liked the physical design. The Switch came with two wireless Joy-Con controllers that can also attach to both sides of the console to support a handheld style of play. But the controllers can also be used individually and in the hand, like the Wii Remote and nunchucks, supporting local multiplayer modes.
I feel the Switch is a sign of Nintendo embracing a new mode of physical design, industrial design. It has some echoes and callbacks, like the triggers to the Wii, but for the most part, it is a completely standalone, fresh device, much like the Wii compared to the GameCube. While the Wii U was definitely not a commercial success, I don't know that you would have a Switch without it.
Over 1 million consoles were sold by the end of the first month, and Nintendo continued to drop big names like Super Mario Odyssey and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. By the end of the fiscal year, 15.5 million units were sold. In just 12 months, the Switch became more successful than the Wii U, which only sold about 13.5 million units in its entire lifespan. One advantage that Nintendo has over their competitors is the exclusive rights to a number of video games. While the majority of games are published by companies like Rockstar, EA, and Activision Blizzard, a lot of the games featured on the Switch are published by Nintendo. And those games are usually exclusive to the Switch, which helps boost sales, funneling more profit into the gaming giant. And the company has had a string of blockbuster game releases. In November 2018, Nintendo released Pokémon Let's Go. The $59.99 game sold 3 million copies in just 1 week. 1 month later, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was released, selling over 12 million units in a little over 3 weeks, making it the most popular Switch game of the year. By the end of 2018, the Switch sold over a total of 32 million units, making it the top-selling console of the year. Total sales revenue for Nintendo reportedly reached $9.5 billion, up from $5.2 billion compared to 2017. In 2019, the Switch kept its title of best-selling console of the year.
Shares of Nintendo soaring overnight. The stock surged after a Wall Street Journal report yesterday said that the company would launch 2 new versions of its Switch video game console as early as the summer.
In September, Nintendo released the cheaper Switch Lite, which is 100% portable, giving gamers on the go an exclusive product. Nintendo was building a new generation of fans.
This has been one of those items that has really defined the gift season for 2019. Everybody wants this, whether you're a millennial, a Gen Xer, I've even seen some boomers picking this up.
By the end of 2019, Nintendo would sell over 5 million Switch Lite consoles. And then, the 2020 quarantine happened.
More and more companies are weighing in on the impact to their bottom lines. Nintendo, for instance, says production and delivery of some products, including the Switch console, will be delayed due to the outbreak.
Even though the coronavirus disrupted manufacturing in Japan, China, and Vietnam, sales of the Switch continued to rise. People were looking for a distraction, and it seemed the Switch was a perfect fit for the moment.
I think coronavirus brought a lot of families together, whether it was playing board games at home or doing puzzles or watching Netflix. And then you look around, you're like, okay, I want a game console. Microsoft and Sony are about to refresh theirs, so it might not be the best time to buy one if you didn't already have it. And then Nintendo has this sort of perfect thing, right? It just launched the Switch Lite, and lots of new games are coming out, but it also has the regular Switch and a refreshed version of it, so you don't feel like you're buying something maybe that's going to be replaced by the holidays.
One game in particular has caught the attention of the public at large as it looked to fight the coronavirus blues.
Animal Crossing came out and the lockdown started. This was a game that if you were not a gamer, this was a game that you can still get into. It's super casual. There's no really end goal. It's just kind of you live your life and you do what you want. I feel like one of my biggest things as a streamer is the chat interaction. So Animal Crossing has brought in a lot of really sweet people to the community.
Is that another kitty? Ooh! Oh God!
The social simulation video game sold more than 13 million copies in the first 6 weeks, making it the fastest-selling title for the Switch. The console crossed over 55 million units sold at the end of March and was harder to find than toilet paper. Now, Nintendo faces uncertainty related to the coronavirus. With production still halted as of May 2020, experts are questioning if the Switch has peaked. During that time, the only consoles available for sale are listed on eBay or Amazon Marketplace at a premium, some priced as high as $600. A lack of supply and the higher prices on the secondary market could potentially turn people away from the Switch to a more readily available system, like the PS4 or the Xbox One S. Although both companies are likely to release new consoles by the end of the 2020 holiday season. Even though Switch sales have been positive, the market share for Nintendo is much lower than Sony or Microsoft, which, in a way, is kind of a fall from grace for Nintendo, because Nintendo dominated the video game space in the 80s.
I think in a lot of ways the Switch is a complementary system to what people might already have at home with an Xbox or a PlayStation. So they might use those for advanced graphics and for those war games like Call of Duty and GTA that you don't get necessarily always on the Switch.
The Switch also faces steep competition from the mobile gaming industry, even though some Nintendo titles are available to play on a smartphone.
You've got the Google Stadia, the big cloud gaming platform. We think that Google is going to spend a hell of a lot of money on exclusive titles over the next 2 years. Apple's done a fantastic job with the Apple Arcade. The quality of the games that they've launched on the arcade platform compared to the rest of the games that you see on the App Store, that's going to probably become more and more relevant in terms of competition.
The company has to figure out how they can get more people to play their games on a mobile device, if they want people to play their games elsewhere, and if they want a larger share of the market. One way to do that is to lean on its stock of premium titles.
I think Nintendo could launch with 100 and add 10 games a month for the next 10 years, and everybody would be in heaven and think, what a fun, what a cool thing. If I could play every Nintendo handheld game ever made, I would subscribe and never quit, and I think so would 100 million of my closest friends.
Nostalgia is the biggest factor with the Switch in general and Nintendo products, because you got adjusted or used to these characters, whether it was Zelda or eventually Pokemon later. It's not so much about graphics as it is just keeping you addicted to playing the game. And now people that are my age or older, even maybe younger, are sharing that nostalgia with their kids.
The Switch's success hinges on a question gamers always ask from the gaming giant: what's next?